You are now tuned in to the Storm Tracker Podcast.
All right, Storm Tracker Podcast here. I'm Marcus Benjamin, representing CanesCounty.com, part of the Rivals Network. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share this podcast and YouTube channel live from Canes County, where we bring you our opinions on the Miami Hurricanes athletics and recruiting. Today, I'm joined by longtime South Florida reporter, Larry Blustein. Thank you for joining me once again on a Blu Monday, Larry.
Appreciate that, Marcus. Thanks so much. Starting off what is going to be a huge week. Going to now put high schools in motion and colleges, even though we had week 0 games last week, just a handful of them. But now we're in full swing and kind of really gets going on Thursday and Friday with a few college games. And then we'll be, and we're, you know, I told somebody the other day, it's funny, you wait 9 months for a high school season, and we're already in week 2. And that means the off season is 3 times longer than the season. And, you know, as soon as that bell rings in the 4M game for the state championships in near December 15th to 20th, you don't have a significant game all the way until late August, which is crazy. So we're making the most of it, you know, and we certainly did this past weekend.
Absolutely. Let's get into that past weekend because it was a long one, I guess you could say, for the Broward County Showcase, which kind of showcased all of these Broward teams, some of the powerhouses against some of the powerhouses of the entire country. And I think it was a great showing overall. The Broward County teams, they went 5-2 this year, dropped 2 games, one more than last year. But they were all great games. They were all competitive, a lot of great players. And that's what you like to see out there, especially from the Saturday where we had Chaminade, St. Thomas, and we also had American Heritage playing in one day. What were your takeaways, Blue? I know you were probably at every game, right?
Well, I was at 5. You know, it was kind of tough to be on Thursday, Friday, so I had to pick one game. But my takeaways of this event is Dr. Kevin Perry and Sean Serra have done just an amazing job over the last 2 years in bringing national attention. I mean, you had 2 games on ESPN, which is just remarkable, and then the rest of them on, you know, Flow Sports. And the thing is in just a short period of time, they have really upped the ante to the point that everybody in the country was watching at least one of the games somewhere. And their tie-in with Dave and Buster's put the entire 7-game package on every screen in every Dave and Buster's nationally. So what they've done is just it's been short of a miracle. Now teams are actually banging down the doors to come in. I know St. John's, after last year, told Sean that they want to come back. So they did, and they were one of the teams that came back. And already next year, Bishop Gorman of Las Vegas, Mater Dei of California are a couple of the teams that are mentioned. Buford, Georgia, which is a really so yeah. When you and then I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but they're trying to bring in Miami Central, you know, and then you know, and Miami Central should be in that. So what it does is give them to be a part of it. All South Florida. You know, I know that Miami-Dade County hasn't been happy. How come we're not involved? And and I will tell you, that's no knock on the organizers. They've tried over the last couple of years to bring a few of the Dade County teams in. I don't think that they understood the concept of the deal, you know, and everybody wants to get paid, obviously. But they didn't understand the enormity of what goes on and how these kids are treated like a bowl game. All you have to do is get here, and the rest is taken care of. Bus travel, hotels, all 3 meals every day. They take you on either the Jungle Queen or to the Miami Marlin game. There's always something occupied. And that's the one thing that people don't understand. Being one of the 7 teams in this event, you're really being treated. And we, as you alluded to, we saw some pretty good football beginning on Thursday, where you had 2 Georgia teams versus 2 Broward County teams. And a lot of people really felt they would go the other way, but you got to give Western and you got to give Monarch, a team that lost by 29 in their kickoff classic, a lot of credit. For beating 2 pretty decent teams in Milton, who was a highly regarded team from Georgia, and also the Cedar Grove, they're 2 years removed from a 15-win season. And then you moved to Friday, and it was kind of a neat little thing where you had Fort Lauderdale's Cardinal Gibbons against Raleigh, North Carolina's Cardinal Gibbons, a much anticipated matchup, and that proved to be one of the most entertaining games, back and forth. Both teams are really good. And then across town, I thought Miramar, and people don't really understand how good Highland Springs, Virginia is. They've won 5 state titles in the last 9 years. And the irony in that game is the head coach, Lauren Johnson, used to be a safety at Miramar High School before going to Virginia Tech and, establishing his life. And then you move to the Saturday games, which started off with Chaminade and St. Francis Academy. You know what? I try to tell people 3 weeks ago, just 3 weeks ago, St. Francis Academy in 2 polls was 2 or 3 in the nation. So it just shows you. And they open up with Buford, lose 18-0, and then come out and see what Chaminade's all about. I think that was such an important game for Chaminade on a national front. The way they left 2022 was not the most pleasing, going out to Bishop Gorman and just getting throttled in every sense of the word. And then you went to St. Thomas. And I've got to tell the people who have been texting me that St. Thomas is going to lose to Fort Myers, and they're going to lose to Cocoa, and they're going to lose to Western. No. This team will be 14-1. They play one of the most complete teams you're ever going to find. A team that came 2,400 miles across, well coached, 13 Division I kids, 5 Power 5 kids. I can't tell you how good that team was. Disciplined, talented, and they came ready for a business trip. A lot of teams come down to South Florida, hit the beach. They were all about business, and they look like it. And you got to give St. Thomas credit; they were in the game in the 4th quarter. So, and then things got away. And then, well, hats off to American Heritage Plantation and head coach Mike Smith. They went through such a terrible week ever since last Saturday when they played Booker T. Washington in the kickoff classic, when one of their players had a heart condition that he was pretty much gone. And if it wasn't for the outstanding work of the training staff of American Heritage, Timothy Burrows would not be with us. So, and it was and at the game, they all wore the number 3 out. The band members, number 5, they all wore his number. And a very emotional week, and I got to give them credit. They came out and just took it to St. John's in every phase of the game, showing that they're going to be one of the teams again to keep an eye on. So, Marcus, 7 great games, as you alluded to, and what a great time.
Yeah, it was definitely excellent football here on the high school gridiron here in South Florida. I just want to touch on the Hurricanes commits or targets in these games. First, I want to say that Luke Nickel, the quarterback from Milton, was really impressive to me. Yeah. I thought he was really poised in the pocket. I didn't think his offensive line or his receivers really kind of did him a lot of favors in the game. I thought Milton was probably the better team overall, but you got to give Western credit. Like you said, they took advantage of the opportunities that they had, and Davy Belfort's shovel pass to Miami target Kobe Howard was probably the play of the game. I thought he actually scored on the play. So I think that was really crucial for Western. But overall, I thought Luke Nickel for Miami is a really promising prospect, and I think he's just going to continue to grow as a player.
Yeah.
And fast forward to Saturday, you had JoJo Trader was in the game. He had a quiet day when it comes to receiving the football. I think he had maybe 4 catches for about 27 yards. The potential, obviously, you see there, but the star of that day was, of course, Zaquan Patterson. Um, he's just an outstanding tackler, and I'll let you expand on what you've seen from him in a minute here. But the other player was Malachi Tony, that the 2026 superstar. I think this kid is playing like he's a 25 or even a 24 kid. He had another touchdown in the game against St. John's for American Heritage. Had another really impressive catch down the sideline where he was blanketed by a cornerback. So I'm really impressed with Malachi Tony and what he brings to Miami in the future. And but going back to Zaquan Patterson here, he, the 5-star talent, made his commitment during halftime. And I do want to say one more thing about that game is that Chaminade, they were in trouble in this game at first. They were down 14-7 at halftime. And Michael Van Buren, the Oregon commit, the quarterback for St. Francis, goes down with an injury. So who knows how this game would have turned out. I certainly don't think it would have been a 35-14 game, which is what it ended up being. But that was a crucial part in the game. But Zaquan Patterson is an outstanding solo tackler. I mean, he is just textbook when it comes to tackling the football, and I think he was a huge difference maker for Chaminade Madonna. What does he bring to Miami for its 2024 class? What have you seen from him over the years?
Well, first of all, he'll be the player that comes in with more playing time than anybody. 5-year varsity starter. If you remember, he was a kid who was going to university school, but that year that university school didn't field the football team because of COVID. He played on that true academy team with all the rest of those, Brandon Innes and players like that as an 8th grader. He and Chris Ewald. 2 big-time kids that have an opportunity to play at a different level. But Zay is he's a big kid. He's a safety that Miami wants, linebacker mentality, good speed, great teammate. He's just the dude that you wanted. I mean, Miami was getting a lot of corners, and they needed to get another safety to add to what they have. Even though they have talent at safety on the roster, Miami, they lack depth, and this is somebody that can come in and push everybody. And you got James Williams, who's a freak of nature, who's going to be used as almost a hybrid and different, and which we thought he would eventually. He's 6'5". It's awfully tough to kind of not put him down a little bit or in the box. And then Cam Kinchins, who's done a great job. But to answer your question, what a great asset to a class that is really, really good. And people are, obviously bitching and moaning. We didn't get David Stone. We didn't get you know what? You're still recruiting off a 5 and 7 year. And that's what people don't realize. And to do what they've done, and Coach Cristobal and his staff have done to land people like a Zay Patterson. And I think it's great. He's just and like I said, he's going to be a great teammate. He's a tremendous person, and he was raised right.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Zaquan Patterson. Love what he brings to the class. Their second 5-star of this 2024 class, along with JoJo Trader. They're going to try to get that third 5-star guy from Chaminade Madonna and Jeremiah Smith. We'll see how that goes. But he seemed pretty solid to Ohio State. But, it's still a long time until signing day, and that's what's fun about recruiting. You just kind of never know when kids will change their minds about where they want to go.
Right.
But like you said earlier, Blue, it's football season. It's game week for the Miami Hurricanes, and like you said, they're coming off a 5-7 season, one of their most disappointing in the school's history. I mean, I think it's their third 5-7 season since the 1970s, which is, kind of uncalled for a program of Miami's stature. They start off with Miami of Ohio this week, and Miami of Ohio is, they're not, an outstanding team. They're a solid, well coached type of team. Most of all of those teams out of the MAC are. They're kind of tough, hard nosed type of teams. They're not going to be any pushovers on Friday night. What are you expecting from the Miami Hurricanes, given everything that from the team this year, the changes that they've made on the coaching staff, the players that they've added? What are you expecting to see here in game one?
Well, Marcus, I'm one of those cautious guys because, I mean, we lived through last year when we were told, oh, Middle Tennessee State, you'll blow right by them. Southern Mississippi should be no problem. You'll have that game won at halftime. And those are the things that kind of are a little bit hurtful, when that happens and they don't exceed. And that's why I don't go overboard. I would realistically like to see them this year coming into the year win 7 games. I'd like to see them be 7-5. I went over their schedule, and obviously there's a couple of games that they could upset, but you don't know the character of this team. And you look at their opponent, and people kind of slough things off. You can't slough anything off. First of all, Miami of Ohio in the 2 deep on defense returns 19 of the 22 players on defense that led the MAC and were 14th overall in the country on run defense. So obviously right there, they have some dudes coming back. Offensively, Blaine Gabbert's brother, a 23-year-old kid that's got a lot of experience. He could do a lot of things. Their offensive line is really good. They run the ball. So they're going to provide, competition. And the only thing that we could say is let's see what happens with Miami, because we saw, especially in the scrimmage, at Hard Rock Stadium, even though I didn't get a chance to see the other scrimmage, that they have a running game and a big time running game. And, a guy that you were extremely high on when we talked, A.J. Allen, I think he's going to be the dude. He's could get up and out real quick. He's fast. He's got great vision, and he'll set the table for the rest of the way, because if everybody stays healthy, I mean, you've got obviously somebody, you've got the kid that I really want to see stay healthy. And obviously is Chaney, because I think out of everybody he's a guy who could play in the NFL. It reminds me of Javaris James, strong, athletic, just can't stay healthy. Obviously, he's going to be a compliment. Mark Fletcher had a really, really good, spring as a kid who I thought that has an opportunity to down the line to be that prototype back. He is a Big Ten downhill runner, but at the same time, and I don't like to take shots, they wanted Thad Franklin to be that guy inside the 20, but sure, he never did. I think he was afraid to hit the hole. That ain't going to happen with Mark Fletcher. He'll knock a linebacker off their feet if he has to. And obviously, you look at the offense moves and solely moves with what Mr. Van Dyke does. And he stays healthy, and this is a year where I think that everything comes together. You got receivers, you got tight ends, you got the running game, you got a much improved offensive line. But he is such a difference maker. Not to take any shots at Emery or Jakari, but they're nowhere near ready. And I know that people are hinting that he may, he's iffy for the game. That makes a difference. That makes a huge difference. because he has that leadership and confidence that the other two don't bring to the table, and especially going against a team that, even though they don't play at the Power 5 level, but has a lot of confidence coming back, knowing that they've stopped a lot of good teams last year. So I just, I feel I want to take every game one at a time. And that's what every time on our podcast or whatever we do, I mean, everybody wants to jump in, 9-3, 10-2, we're in the Cotton Bowl. You can't do that. You just can't. And you made a great point. Last year might have been the worst roster that this school has ever had since 60. And because I've been around and watching these teams, as a fan in the early 60s up into covering in the late 60s or early 70s. And I don't think Miami's had a roster that was so depleted of talent like last year. And I know you and I were in the post game press conferences, and you could see on Mario Cristobal's face, and you go, oh my God, what the heck did I get myself into? Because he just didn't have that talent, and it's awfully tough to face the media, Marcus, after losing to a Middle Tennessee State team that lost to everybody last year.
Yeah, definitely. Great points. I'll let you know what I'm expecting from this team. It is hard to expect anything from the Miami Hurricanes, just given its recent history, but it's a new era. It's a Cristobal era, and we're supposed to be Cristobaling here, so to speak. So
hopefully,
I'm expecting first offense, right? I'm expecting offense. We didn't really see offense last season. We didn't see explosive plays, really. We didn't see extended drives going down the field. I'm expecting to see that, especially if Tyler Van Dyke stays healthy for the entire season. I'm expecting offense from Shannon Dawson, from these playmakers that Miami has accumulated, as far as, AJ Allen and, Kobe Young should take another step, and so should Restrepo, and so should George. And you got a nice stable of running backs there. Tight ends are pretty deep as well. You got some experienced guys. You got some guys coming off of injury in Cam McCormick and Elijah Arroyo. Jaleel Skinner should be taking a next step in his game. And the offensive line is better, but they have to stay healthy. They have to stay relatively healthy. That's, kind of something that probably won't happen because it's football, especially with the offensive line. It's kind of natural to have an injury here and there, but they have to stay, for the most part, relatively healthy. And I'm expecting this offense to look a lot better than last season, just based on the different scheme. Tyler Van Dyke is now in a scheme similar to 2021 when he's with Rhett Lashley. So I'm expecting these receivers to really make plays in the open field. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm expecting this defensive line to be a strength and to create pressure. And I'm hard pressed to really say if they will be stopping the run consistently.
Right.
We'll see about that. That's kind of a wait and see, or that's kind of what I'm hoping for, I guess, to see if they can stop the run on a consistent basis. But I know if it's third and long, then I'm pretty confident that Miami will be able to get off the field in this game. Sure. with Miami of Ohio. I just think they have the talent to get that team off the field on third down. So that's kind of what I am expecting from this team here on Friday night, opening night at Hard Rock Stadium. But all eyes will be on Tyler Van Dyke. You alluded to that earlier, that his health is crucial here, and we've heard the rumors that he's injured his finger and that he is questionable for Friday night's game. and it sounds like he is probably going to play, but he's likely probably not going to be 100%. Finger injuries usually don't heal in a week,
Right.
so we'll see if he plays, and if he plays the entire game. I think if he does play the entire game, that really kind of depends on how the score goes.
Yeah.
But
No, that makes sense. I mean, but the one thing too is that uh, with a team like Miami of Ohio, who comes in, like I said, with confidence, and if they kind of smell blood in the form of a backup quarterback, especially with the defense coming in the way they do, Bill Brechin, who's the defensive coordinator and also handles the defensive backs. I mean, he's gonna try to do every scheme he can do. He's gonna send people. He's gonna send blitzes. So from that standpoint, the whole thing is to disrupt Miami, the University of Miami's offense. And the only way I think they're going to do it effectively is if Tyler's not in there, because I think Tyler's smart where he's going to pick up schemes. He's going to pick up a lot of things. But again, and I've said this all along, I'm not sleeping on anybody. I'm not sleeping on anybody. I mean, obviously Bethune-Cookman's at a different level, but Miami of Ohio is a Division I team. So, I mean, they got players, they got dudes that anytime you recruit kids who are Division I level, if they even start maturing a little bit more and as sophomores and juniors, they become maybe a player that a lot of people early on might have said, oh, okay, that kid could play at Ohio State. So, yeah, I don't take anything. I mean, I would much rather you and every other fan say, I told you, Larry. I told you, Larry. And I hope that happens. I hope they come out and win the game 49-20. But the all likelihood of that happening, coming off of last year, we'll see. It's a wait and see type of thing. I mean, and it's funny, you hear all these fans who kind of forget about what happened last year, and they go, well, I hope they don't look ahead to Texas A&M. What? You're going to look ahead to anybody after last year? Come on. So I think they're going to be focused, but understand that the opposing team on a Friday night is going to come down here and try to get you off to a bad start. So going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I think it will definitely be interesting as far as what the score will be. Vegas has this game at 17.5. It actually dropped to 16.5 as Miami favorites. Miami did a terrible job of covering the spread last season. So I think expectations are always high for the Hurricanes, although they, fail to meet them at times. And I think in this game, I think this is going to be closer than the experts think, Blue. I don't think this is going to be a 3-touchdown game. It's game one, game one, you kind of have to feel out what kind of team you have. And the players haven't really, there's so many new players on this team. They have to kind of feel each other out and kind of know how to trust each other. That's how game ones usually are. I mean,
right.
It's always the hardest game to really predict. And Miami of Ohio is going to be one of those sneaky teams that is going to play really tough in that first half. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 3-point game by halftime by any stretch. Maybe they can pull away in the second half, but I think this is going to be a closer game than the experts think, just because of it being game one, and the news that we got about Tyler Van Dyke not being 100%, because Jakari Brown was underwhelming last season when he did play. He had some moments, and he's an outstanding athlete, but I don't believe he's quite ready to assume a full-time gig as a college quarterback, and neither do I feel that way about a true freshman in Emory Williams. So it should be a very, very interesting to kind of see how it all unfolds on Friday night. I think the energy is going to be there, though, since it's a night game, as far as the crowd is concerned. So I think they'll be able to kind of feed off of that and maybe create some turnovers in
Yeah.
this one. But players that you think will kind of stand out on Friday night. Who's that for you?
Well, I got to think that, somebody who's going to try to set the tone again, because of the fact that, he was out a lot of last year, but when he was in, he was exciting, is Xavier Restrepo on the offensive side of the ball, because he gives them some stability. Obviously Kobe Young and all these other receivers have a lot of potential, but they really haven't, on my mind, really lived up to it in game conditions. Xavier has. I think he kind of is a key. And obviously anybody in there, anybody, Parrish, any of the running backs. But as you said, offensive line-wise, in that first scrimmage game over at Hard Rock, just in the first series alone, they had 2 holding penalties with the number 1 offensive line. So those are things that need to be corrected. Defensively, obviously, the guy that I'm looking forward to set the tempo is a guy who did it last year in Cam Kitchens. He's the captain on the defensive side, a big playmaking guy. I think if he can assert himself, because a lot of people are saying, there's always that second year of after doing everything and you're going to fall. And I think he gets off to a really good start. I think, he's going to make it tough for them to throw into the secondary. He's going to come up and support the run. So if I had to pick 2 guys, I think those are the 2 guys that I'm going to key on and look at on Friday night.
Excellent choices. Cam Kitchens, if he's able to become an All-American again, he puts himself in some pretty elite company as safeties with Benny Blades and Ed Reed.
And Ted Hendricks.
Right. And Ted Hendricks as well. Ted Hendricks did 3 times, actually. Yeah. So yeah, he'd be in elite safety company. I mean, he'd be in safety royalty, basically, by University of Miami standards. For me on defense, I think it's Francisco Mauanoa, man. I really think he is going to be a huge difference maker. In the scrimmage, he really showed what he can do as far as stopping the run, which, we know that's key in every football game. So I'm really excited to see what he will do and bring to this defense. I think he's going to allow, other players to really kind of make plays, like the other linebacker that plays along aside him, which is either going to be Wesley Basaint or likely KJ Cloyd. I think he's going to be a difference maker for that defense, aside from the defensive line, who I'm really high on. On offense, I think this is the year that Jacoby George really kind of shows what he can do. I think overall he is probably the most well-rounded receiver on the team. Can catch fades well, can take you deep, can go across the middle, can catch a screen. He has all the tools to be the best wide receiver for the Miami Hurricanes if he can just stay on the field, be healthy the entire season, and just kind of really show what we've always seen from him out of Plantation High School. We've kind of yet to see that high level ability from Jacoby George, and I think he will show on Friday that this is going to be his season. And last thing before we get out of here, Blue, prediction time. If you had to put a score on what's going to happen, just given what you know now, of course, we'll probably learn more things as the week goes on here. How does this game of Miami versus Miami turn out?
I think I was at the last Miami versus Miami. It was like 58-0 or so, but ain't going to be like that now.
It was 54-3.
Boy, actually. It's crazy. Yeah, I remember. I still have the game program. I was looking at it last week to see, back then. But I just think given the way things are, and we don't know enough about Miami as a football team, we know a lot of individuals, we know what they're capable of doing. I think this is a 30-17 game. I think that, as you said, it could be close at halftime. Miami may add a touchdown or so in the second half. And listen, that's fair because Miami of Ohio is going to be 9-2 or 8-3 at the worst. They're defending champions of the conference. They return a lot of kids. So I don't think the stage is going to be too big for them. You get a lot of programs that'll come in here into a situation where you're playing a Power 5 school, in their place at night, that they would be overwhelmed, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 27-16 is kind of where I'm going here. I think Miami puts enough points to definitely win the game, and I think they make some stops in the second half and create some turnovers to kind of I guess simmer down that Miami of Ohio offense. I think it'll be that type of game, and like I said, I think this is you got a lot of young kids here that are in this game, and some are playing their first college football game ever. So I think a lot of adrenaline will be pumping for these guys in game one. So that's kind of where I'm going there, given what I know now. But should be fun, man. Should be fun, and looking forward to seeing you in the press box on Friday, and also in every game this season.
I hope we're looking at each other in a positive way, because there was a lot of times last year you looked at me at halftime like to say, "Oh, geez."
Right.
Not again.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Hopefully, good times ahead for Miami Hurricanes fans. And that's going to wrap it up for the Storm Tracker podcast. Once again, make sure you subscribe to CanesCounty.com, part of the Rivals Network. Today is the last day for our promotion that we're running, where it's 60% off the first year of an annual subscription. Make sure to like, share, and comment on this podcast as well as this YouTube channel. And we will catch you for the next episode of the Storm Tracker podcast.